Aaron awoke to the sound of wind whistling through metal bars. His body ached from years he didn't remember living, and the air smelled of iron and old smoke. Across the corridor, faint amber eyes glimmered behind shadows. Cirrus. She wasn't chained this time, but the heavy cuffs still hung from her wrists, their cold weight a reminder of centuries of captivity. "You came," she whispered, her voice soft yet filled with warning. "I promised," Aaron replied, though the words felt foreign in his mouth. Every instinct in him told him this was different, that this world, this fortress, held traps no mortal had ever survived. The guards didn't approach. Instead, the corridors echoed with the distant clanging of doors and the whispered menace of unseen creatures. Cirrus leaned closer to the barrier between them, the faint heat of her presence brushing against him. "You don't understand," she murmured. "These cuffs, they aren't mine. They feed on rage, on the violence in your soul. When they sense blood, they act." Aaron pressed a hand against the wall, feeling the hum of power emanating from the metal. "Then I'll be careful." "No," she gasped. "You won't understand until it's too late. They want blood, and if you step in, they'll find it." The desert sky outside began to glow with the first pale light of dawn, casting alien constellations across the fortress walls. For a long moment, they simply stared at each other, two souls tethered by past promises neither fully remembered. Then, without warning, Cirrus's chains writhed like living serpents, reaching toward him. Aaron dodged instinctively, his hands grasping the metal. The contact sent a jolt of energy through him, a memory fragment, flashes of fire, the fall of a citadel, a hand gripping his own in desperate promise. I remember," he whispered, the memory flooding his mind. The ancient blade, the vow of survival, the oath of loyalty and love, everything he had forgotten came rushing back. Cirrus froze, the chains stilling midair. A flicker of hope appeared in her amber eyes. "You remembered," she breathed. Aaron nodded, feeling the chains loosen slightly, reacting to the recognition of blood, of oath, of bond. The fortress trembled as if sensing the shift in power between them and the forces that held it together. "We have to move," he said, "before the rest of them wake." Together they prepared to step into the corridor beyond, aware that every shadow might hide an enemy, every footstep could bring death. But for the first time in centuries, they faced it as allies, bound by promises and something far stronger than fear.
Aaron and Cirrus moved cautiously through the fortress corridors, the air thick with the scent of old magic and scorched stone. Shadows clung to every corner, twisting unnaturally, as if the walls themselves were alive, whispering secrets of pain and betrayal. "Stay close," Cirrus murmured, her amber eyes scanning the darkness. The chains on her wrists, though no longer controlling her, still hummed with restrained energy, echoing the pulse of her heartbeat. Ahead, a massive hall opened up, its ceilings lost in shadow. Statues of fallen kings and generals lined the walls, their stony faces frozen in expressions of triumph and agony. Between them, narrow walkways stretched over pits filled with glimmering, corrosive liquid. The faint hiss of its surface warned of death with a single misstep. Aaron's pulse quickened. "How do we cross?" he asked, already sensing that the path was not just physical, it was a trial of the mind. Cirrus smiled faintly. "It tests fear more than strength. Step with certainty, and the path will yield. Hesitate, and it will claim you." They moved, the chains between Cirrus and him catching the faint light and glinting like strands of liquid silver. With each careful step, memories flashed in Aaron's mind, glimpses of battles long past, of nights spent hiding in ruined temples, of promises whispered under alien stars. Each memory gave him a strange confidence, a reassurance that this journey had always been meant to happen. Suddenly the shadows shifted violently. Forms emerged from the darkness, guardians of the hall, towering figures clad in armor that seemed fused with their skin, eyes glowing like molten gold. Their movements were precise, inhuman, and their voices were a chorus of distorted tones. "You dare trespass?" the lead guardian boomed, raising a jagged blade that crackled with dark energy. Cirrus's chain sprang to life, coiling around her wrists, ready to strike. "We are not trespassers," she said firmly. "We are here to end the tyranny that has enslaved this place for centuries." The guardians attacked as one, their blades carving through the air. Aaron drew his plasma sword, the hum of the energy blade a comforting reassurance against the unnatural forms before him. Together he and Cirrus moved as a unit, he blocking and striking where skill demanded, she weaving her chains in lethal arcs, each strike precise, controlled, yet imbued with the raw power of centuries of confinement and fury. Even as they fought, the hall seemed to respond, the shadows recoiling from her presence, the statue's eyes faintly glowing as if recognizing her. With every step, they edged closer to the far side of the hall, where a massive door carved with runes of binding and protection awaited. Beyond it lay the inner sanctum, the next stage of their confrontation with the forces that had chained them and stolen centuries of their lives. As the last guardian fell, the air hummed with a quiet, dangerous energy. Cirrus turned to Erend, her eyes reflecting both triumph and caution. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. "The deeper we go, the closer we get to him, and the harder it will be to control what lurks within me." Erend nodded, gripping the sword tighter. "Then we go together. No hesitations, no promises left untested." And with that, they stepped toward the carved door, the chains connecting them swinging in unison, a tether of blood, memory, and unbreakable will.
Erend and Cirrus pushed open the massive rune-carved door. A wave of cold air swept past them, carrying whispers that seemed to crawl along the walls. The chamber beyond was vast, circular, with a floor that shimmered like liquid glass. Shadows moved across its surface, reflecting not their forms, but moments, memories, snippets of lives lived and lost. "This place," Erend whispered, eyes wide. "It's alive with the past." Cirrus nodded, her chains coiling and uncoiling around her wrists. "The chamber of echoes. It doesn't just see you, it remembers you, your fears, your regrets, your choices. Every step here tests more than skill. It tests your soul." They moved cautiously. As they crossed the reflective floor, visions flickered around them. Erend saw himself lying wounded in a desert under alien suns, hands reaching for something he could not grasp. Cirrus saw centuries of servitude, her chains bending and shaping not only her body, but her very essence. Each vision cut deep, echoing with emotions so real it made their hearts ache. Suddenly, the echoes coalesced into figures. Faceless warriors, phantoms of entities long dead emerged from the reflective surface, their blades shimmering with the energy of forgotten battles. They moved like liquid, striking in unison, forcing Erend and Cirrus to react with lethal precision. Erend swung his plasma sword, cutting through the illusions, but each strike only made more apparitions rise from the mirrored floor. Cirrus's chains snapped outward, lashing with incredible speed, shattering phantom arms and legs before they could strike. But for every figure destroyed, two more rose in its place. Erend gritted his teeth. "It's endless." Cirrus's amber eyes flared with determination. "Then we stopped thinking of them as enemies. They're tests. Focus on each other, not the echoes." Their eyes met, and in that instant the chamber shifted. The illusions faltered, faltering against the bond between them. The chains connecting them pulsed, resonating with the floor, reacting to their unspoken understanding and trust. With a sudden synchronized movement, they lunged forward. Erend struck one illusion that had surged toward Cirrus, while she lashed a chain that coiled around another. The figures shattered into silver mist, the echoes of their anger dissipating into nothingness. Finally, the mirrored floor stilled. The chamber was silent, save for the faint hum of magic lingering in the air. Cirrus lowered her hands, the chains relaxing, but not fully still. It tests more than our strength. It tests what we are willing to protect and what we are willing to lose. Erend glanced down at the connecting chain. "Then let's make sure we protect each other, no matter what comes next." A low rumble shook the chamber as the far wall shifted, revealing a hidden passage, dark, ominous, and pulsing with energy that promised danger, but also the path forward. Cirrus took a deep breath, chains tightening reflexively, and said, "This is it, Erend. The inner sanctum. Whatever waits for us there, we face it together." Erend nodded. Together. They stepped forward into the darkness, the chamber of echoes fading behind them, leaving only their determination and the unbreakable bond that now tethered their fates.
Erend and Cirrus entered the inner sanctum. The air here was thick with a power older than memory, a pulsing aura that pressed against their minds as much as their bodies. The chamber was circular, its walls lined with jagged black crystal that seemed to drink the light, reflecting only shadows of what stood within. In the center, a throne carved from obsidian rose above a pit of swirling energy, and upon it sat the warlord king, Morvath. His presence radiated authority and malevolence, every inch of him a storm of centuries-honed power, his eyes, glowing like molten gold, fixed on them with a predator's calm. "So," he said, voice echoing like rolling thunder. "You've made it further than any before you. Impressive, but futile." Aaron tightened his grip on his plasma sword, the chain between them pulsing lightly. "We're not here to impress you," he said steadily. "We're here to end this." Morvath's laughter filled the chamber, shaking the crystal walls. "End me? You cannot even comprehend the forces you face." Sarah stepped forward, chains coiling in anticipation. "We don't need to comprehend. We only need to act." The Warlord King rose, massive wings unfurling behind him, crackling with dark energy. "Then act and be crushed." He slammed his fist into the obsidian floor, sending shockwaves that splintered crystal and threw the heroes off balance. Aaron rolled to avoid the shards, signaling Ceres. The chain connecting them vibrated with tension, their unspoken bond guiding each movement. Ceres lashed a chain at Morvath's side, sparks of energy flying as it struck, but the king barely flinched. "You are strong," Morvath admitted, a twisted smile on his face. "But strength without unity is meaningless." Aaron exchanged a glance with Ceres. "Unity is exactly what you underestimate."
With perfect synchronization, they moved. Aaron struck at the king's legs, while Ceres' chains whipped around his torso, attempting to bind him. Morvath roared, a sound that seemed to shake the very chamber, yet the duo did not relent. The king lashed out with blasts of pure energy, cracking the crystal floor beneath them. Aaron dove, catching Ceres mid-roll, avoiding a strike that would have thrown them into the pit of swirling energy. They landed, breathless but unbroken. "You've learned to fight, but can you endure what comes next?" From the shadows, spectral warriors emerged, an army of Morvath's past conquests, their forms half phantom, half metal, swarming like living steel. They pressed in from all sides, weapons striking, but Aaron and Ceres moved as one, chains and blades dancing in lethal harmony. Every motion was precise, every strike anticipating the other's next move. Amid the chaos, Aaron caught Ceres' gaze. She nodded. In that instant, they made the unspoken decision. No hesitation. Together, they plunged into the heart of the swarm, cutting a path toward the throne where Morvath waited. But as they neared him, the Warlord King raised his hands, summoning a barrier of black energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. "If you wish to claim victory, you must face me here, where your fears and your past are laid bare." Aaron felt the chain tighten, a strange warmth spreading through it. Ceres' amber eyes glowed brighter, her chains dancing like serpents. "We're not afraid," she whispered. "No," Aaron agreed, "because we face it together." With a shared breath, they launched themselves at Morvath, the chamber erupting into a storm of steel, energy, and unbreakable will, a battle that would decide not just their fates, but the fate of the galaxy itself.
The chamber quaked under the sheer force of Morvath's barrier. Energy crackled in the air, singing against their armor and burning their senses. Aaron and Soros felt the weight of centuries pressing down, the king's power a living entity, daring them to break, to fail. Aaron's hand shook for just a heartbeat, the sword heavy, the chain between them thrumming like a warning. "Stay close," he whispered. Soros's amber eyes locked on his, her chains coiling and writhing with anticipation. "Always," she said. With a roar, Morvath slammed the barrier with both hands, sending shockwaves outward. Spectral warriors scattered, some dissolving into smoke, others clawing at the edges of the heroes' minds. Aaron lunged, sword blazing with energy, cutting through the first wave of phantoms. Soros's chains struck in tandem, wrapping around spectral arms and crushing the illusions into nothingness. "You think you can win?" Morvath bellowed, his voice a storm within a storm. "I have survived 1,000 rebellions, outlived 1,000 lifetimes." Aaron faltered as visions flashed before him, memories of past defeats, of friends lost, of worlds burning under Morvath's reign. But Soros's voice broke through. "I remember every promise we've made, Aaron. We do not fail." The chain tightened, and in that moment a new power surged through them, not just magic or strength, but the force of their bond, centuries of trust, of love, of battles fought side by side. Energy erupted from their union, shattering spectral warriors and piercing Morvath's black barrier. The king staggered, eyes wide with fury and disbelief. "Impossible!" he hissed, lashing out with his spear, each strike sending tremors through the chamber.
Aaron dodged, but the force threw him against the jagged crystal walls, shards cutting deep. Blood mingled with the dust, but he rose, eyes fixed on Morvath. Sorcery's chains became a blur, wrapping around the king's arms, legs, and torso, binding him as tightly as the cursed metal could allow. She whispered, almost.
The warlord king roared, energy flaring from every pore, shaking the throne room to its foundations. Yet, the chain between Aaron and Saris pulsed brighter, feeding on their resolve, feeding on their unbreakable unity. Aaron stepped forward, planting his sword in the obsidian floor. He raised both hands, summoning the final energy he had, a pulse that emanated from their shared promise. "This ends now," he shouted. The combined force of their bond surged outward. Morvath's armor cracked, his wings faltering. With a final scream, the king's energy exploded in a maelstrom of light and shadow, tearing the chamber apart. Crystal walls shattered, obsidian pillars fell, and for a heartbeat, everything was chaos and noise and fire. And then, silence. The smoke cleared. Morvath lay crumpled, his crown rolled aside, the throne room a ruin. The energy that had threatened to consume everything dissipated. Aaron fell to his knees, panting, bloodied but alive. Saris dropped beside him, her chains slack, eyes still glowing with faint embers of power. We did it," Aaron whispered, voice trembling. Saris placed a hand on his shoulder, her fingers warm, grounding him. "Together," she said, "always together." But as the echoes of the chamber faded, a faint shimmer in the air caught Aaron's attention, a ripple of energy, like a warning, like a pulse of unfinished business. Morvath's power, though broken, was not completely gone. Somewhere, deep in the ruins, something stirred. Aaron's jaw tightened. "It's not over, is it?" Sarah shook her head, but there was no fear in her gaze. "Not yet, but whatever comes, we face it side by side." The ruined throne room glowed faintly under the twin moons, broken crystal, shattered obsidian, and the remnants of centuries of tyranny littered the floor. Aaron looked at Saris, and for the first time in 100 years, he allowed himself a small, tired smile. They had survived. Together, they had survived. The wind howled through the broken walls, carrying the faint scent of the desert beyond, and somewhere in that vast expanse, the first hints of freedom whispered to them, promising new challenges and new beginnings. The corridors of the ruined fortress groaned under the weight of destruction. Crystal shards glimmered in the pale light of the twin moons, and the scent of smoke and ash hung heavy in the air. Aaron's boots crunched over broken obsidian, each step a reminder of the battle they had survived, but victory felt fragile. Saris locked beside him, chains now inert, yet still wrapped loosely around her wrists like a reminder of the past. Her amber eyes scanned the darkness, alert for any lingering threats. "We're not out yet," she said softly. "The fortress may be crumbling, but danger still lingers in the shadows." Aaron nodded, tightening his grip on the sword. Every sense screamed caution. Somewhere in the depths of the fortress, the echoes of Morvath's shattered power stirred, like embers waiting to ignite. "Lead the way," he said. "I'll follow." They moved through halls where once proud banners lay scorched, the symbols of a tyrant king defiled. Freed captives, survivors of the uprising, scurried past them, dazed and uncertain. Many species, young and old, looked at Saris with reverence and fear, the one who had shattered chains older than their memories. As they descended to the lower levels, Aaron felt a faint vibration of distant footfalls. "We're not alone," he murmured. Saris tightened her chains, the metal humming faintly. "The king's remaining guards," she said. "They'll try to regroup, maybe block the gates." Ahead, a massive door led to the outer courtyard. Beyond it, the desert stretched endlessly, silver dunes reflecting the moon's cold light. Freedom, Aaron thought. But first, they had to survive. The door groaned as they pushed it open, only to be confronted by a line of armored figures, survivors loyal to Morvath, desperate and enraged. Their weapons glimmered with residual magic, though weakened. Aaron didn't hesitate. "We fight," he said, determination hardening his voice. Ceres's chains unfurled like living serpents, striking with precision, disabling guards without killing when she could, sparing those who hesitated. Aaron's sword cut a path through the remaining defenders, the two moving in a deadly synchronized rhythm. Every movement they made felt instinctual, a culmination of centuries of shared struggle. One particularly tall guard, his armor etched with runes, advanced with a growl. Ceres met him head-on, her chains coiling around his legs and pulling him to the ground with a violent force. Aaron joined, striking through the opening Ceres had created. The battle was brief but fierce, and soon the path to the desert lay open. Outside, the wind carried the scent of freedom and the stark reality of the world beyond. The sand stretched endlessly, but it was theirs now. Ceres turned to Aaron, her gaze intense. We walk through fire and shadows, but together we are untouchable. Aaron swallowed, the weight of their survival pressing down, yet tempered by hope. Then we go, he said, taking her hand. The chains between them swung gently, a symbol of unity forged in both pain and triumph. Behind them, the fortress burned. Flames licked the sky and smoke spiraled upward, a beacon for anyone who dared to watch. The echoes of the king's empire shattered, faded into memory. For now, there was only the desert, the moons, and the endless expanse ahead. But as they walked, Aaron felt a faint tremor beneath the sand, a whisper of distant power, a hint that the trials were far from over. Ceres sensed it too, her fingers tightening around us. Whatever comes, she said, voice low but unwavering, we face it together. Aaron nodded. Always. And with that, they disappeared into the night, two souls intertwined, walking into a world that would challenge them in ways they had yet to imagine. Their fortress behind them crumbled completely, leaving only ash, memories, and the lingering promise that love, like theirs, could endure beyond death itself.
The desert stretched before them, an endless sea of silver sand under the twin moons. Each dune seemed to shift with a life of its own, as if the planet itself was testing their resolve. Aaron tightened his cloak against the chill, though the desert's cold was nothing compared to the fire in his chest. The memory of the fortress, the king, and the children they had freed. Ceres walked beside him, her amber eyes scanning the horizon. Though free of her chains, a faint shimmer of energy still lingered around her wrists, a reminder that the power binding her had not fully dissipated. She didn't speak, yet Aaron could feel the weight of her presence, a constant, grounding force amid the alien wilderness. They moved in silence, the crunch of sand beneath their boots the only sound. The desert was deceptive. The dunes were beautiful but treacherous. Every step could hide a sinkhole, every shadow could conceal a predator. And yet each risk felt trivial compared to what they had survived in the fortress. After hours of walking, they reached a narrow canyon, its walls reflecting moonlight like molten silver. This path, Ceres said, her voice low, is dangerous, but it will bring us closer to the border of the Wraithlands. She gestured toward a jagged ridge in the distance. Beyond that, the world opens, and so do possibilities we can't yet see. Aaron glanced at her, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. And if we encounter enemies, or worse, if the king's power isn't truly gone? Ceres paused, studying the horizon. The desert wind whipped through her hair, carrying the faint scent of ash and blood. Then we fight, she said simply, together. Her hand brushed against his, and for a moment, the weight of their chains, both physical and spiritual, felt like a distant memory.
The journey was grueling. Sandstorms rose without warning, swallowing the moons and casting darkness upon their path. Ceres's power flared instinctively, a shield against the storm's biting force. Aaron marveled at her control, even as he struggled to maintain footing. Every gale tested their endurance, yet neither wavered. By the second night, exhaustion had settled into their bones. They made camp in a small depression between dunes, the stars above unfamiliar yet oddly comforting. Ceres sat beside him, chains coiled at her feet like sleeping serpents. "I've lived 2 centuries in bondage," she whispered, "and yet this freedom feels heavier than any chain I've worn." Aaron placed a hand on hers. "Freedom is always heavy when it's earned," he said. "It's the weight of choice, of responsibility, but you carry it well." For a long moment, silence reigned. The desert seemed to listen to them, the winds whispering secrets only the lost and wandering could understand. Then Ceres leaned her head against his shoulder, her voice soft. "I thought I'd never feel the sand beneath my feet willingly again, never taste life without the king's shadow over me." Aaron tightened his hold, feeling the pulse of her heartbeat. And yet here we are, together, still walking, still breathing, still surviving. As dawn broke, the first light of the alien sun painted the dunes in shades of crimson and gold. They rose, brushing sand from their cloaks. Ahead the Wraithlands awaited, rumored to be treacherous, filled with creatures and remnants of ancient forgotten magic. but beyond danger lay hope. And as Aaron looked at Saris, he knew that as long as they walked side by side, no desert, no enemy, no curse could sever the bond they had reforged in fire and blood. The desert stretched endlessly, yet the path forward had never felt so certain. Two souls, bound by love, promises, and an unbroken chain of fate, stepped into the rising sun, ready for whatever lay beyond the horizon.
The Wraithlands lay before them, a vast expanse of jagged stone, flickering shadows and strange, unearthly lights. The air itself shimmered, carrying whispers of ancient magic that bent reality in subtle, unnerving ways. Aaron and Cirrus paused at the edge, their hands still bound by the chain that now symbolized not imprisonment, but unbreakable unity. Cirrus's amber eyes scanned the horizon. "This is the final test," she said quietly. "The Wraithlands have consumed armies, swallowed entire cities. Only those bound by fate or madness survive." Aaron glanced at her. "We've survived worse." She smiled faintly, a mixture of exhaustion and defiance. "Yes, but nothing like this." As they stepped forward, the ground trembled beneath their feet. Shadows twisted into forms, creatures of stone and smoke, remnants of the king's ancient experiments, guardians of a world long abandoned. The creatures advanced, but Cirrus raised her hands, energy arcing from her palms in golden ribbons of light. The chains around their wrists pulsed, resonating with her power, strengthening her strikes. Aaron drew his sword, the ancient metal singing as it caught the first light of dawn. "We fight together," he said, gripping her hand briefly before stepping into the fray. The battle was unlike any they had faced. Time and space seemed to bend in the Wraithlands, each strike sending echoes across realities. Creatures struck with impossible speed, shadows twisting into impossible forms. But every attack met their combined strength. Cirrus's chains moved with a will of their own, weaving through the enemies, restraining, striking, protecting. Aaron's blade danced with precision, cutting through darkness, each swing a testament to the memories and skills reclaimed from centuries past. Amid the chaos, the ground split beneath them, revealing a glowing chasm filled with molten energy. Cirrus grabbed Aaron's arm. "We must not falter now. We must reach the heart of the Wraithlands, or this power will consume us." They ran, leaping over gaping fissures, the chain binding them swinging like a living thing, carrying the rhythm of their hearts. The creatures followed relentlessly, yet every obstacle they faced strengthened their resolve.
Finally, they reached a vast obsidian spire at the center of the Wraithlands. Its surface was etched with sigils of power, pulsing with an eerie, sentient glow. The air hummed with energy, and at the top, a figure materialized, a guardian of ancient magic, the final obstacle between them and freedom. Its eyes burned like molten gold, and its voice rolled across the chasm. "Only those united by destiny may pass." Saris and Aaron exchanged a glance. No words were needed. Their bond, forged in fire, blood, and centuries of promises, was their answer. Together they stepped forward, their chains resonating with the spire. Energy flared, surrounding them in a vortex of light and shadow. Their guardian roared, striking with force, but the combined will of their hearts held firm. With one final surge, Saris and Aaron merged their power through the chain that bound them. The sigils on the spire shattered like glass. The Guardians' war echoed once, then dissolved into silence. The Wraithlands trembled, then stilled. The oppressive energy lifted, replaced by a serene, almost holy quiet. They stood at the top, gazing across the horizon. The desert stretched far beyond, untouched and infinite. The chain binding them no longer burned with malevolence. Instead, it pulsed softly, a constant reminder of their unity and the promises they had kept. Saris turned to Aaron. "We survived, together. Nothing can undo that." Aaron nodded, his eyes reflecting the rising twin suns. "The future is ours to shape. No chains, no tyrants, no curse can stop us now." For the first time in centuries, they allowed themselves to smile fully, unguarded, free. The past was behind them, the weight of history transformed into the strength of their bond. They descended from the spire, hand in hand, ready to face whatever new worlds awaited them, not as slaves to fate, but as masters of their destiny. And as they walked into the light of dawn, the Wraithlands faded behind them, a testament to the enduring power of love, promises, and the courage to fight for freedom, together.